what we're doing, so if you're buying a second-hand van, or any van really, and you're not sure about the weights, we're going to show you what we're going to do to establish just how much payload we really have in this van. Yep.
With the car?
Yeah, with the car. We're a bit concerned about the car because I think it's over. These Land Cruisers, these 200 series, the payload's not very big.
I think that's right on. I think that's right on.
It's right on.
I think it's right on the limit.
Then you get in and we might be over.
Oh, yeah.
We'll soon find out.
No,
and I'm not sure we need all this. Why do we need 14 hand warmers?
Found something and snuck it in after we weighed everything in.
I just got a little box. Yeah. I snuck it in.
So you'd be looking at, depending on how many shoes Tracy's bringing, you'd be looking at...
I like rolling.
And maybe...
People trying to understand this ATM, GVM, what's the difference there? So what I'm going to do is take absolutely everything out of the car. This is Tracy's side, she's got gizmos in here. I'm going to get everything out, lay it all out, and then decide if it hasn't got 2 uses, it's not coming, because I know it's right on the limit. And when you get in it, it could be very close. I might have to go by myself. Check this out. What do you think about this, darling?
It says Craig overload.
What?
Yes, Craig overload.
Check this out.
Craig overload.
Now, if you don't have all this in your car as a minimum, there's something wrong, I reckon.
Yep.
You do need all of those straps and clips and tie downs. I'm going to do some serious recovery work here. Look at these. Look at all those.
How many times have they been used?
Never. We've even got one of those electric gizmos.
We've got an induction control.
300 watt solar panel. These KT panels, mate, you go and do your own research, but they are the ants' pants. What's this? Compressor. Stuff everywhere. Spare parts, you need spare parts. Big axe. I don't know. You got to have all this stuff, don't you? Okay, so let's get cracking and weighing this stuff, eh? You write it down, I'll chuck it on the scales. Here we are. Okay, now, looking at all this stuff, we're going to have a big cull, I reckon, because what's it all equal? Let's have a look. We've added it all up on the calculator. 113
kilos.
0.835 kilos.
Oh, you reckon that's a U? It weighs a U?
Yeah, well, the equivalent to me. I do think that I have way too much stuff, and I could probably cull it, but not overly. When you start thinking about what you have things for and how you want to use them. So in here now, we've got a clean out car. There's nothing anywhere. Look at these drawers. Woohoo! So, okay, let's do a cull. Yes, that's right.
Craig has a purpose
No,
for
what do you mean?
hose fitting in Australia, by the way, guys.
Yeah, well,
every single hose
every guy
fitting
knows.
you could imagine.
Everyone who goes to a caravan park knows that you need multiple fittings because you're going to either leave your one there or you'll turn up and there won't be one. We don't have 15, we have 7. That's enough. 7. Okay, so everything is shown on that blanket before, 114 kilos. Now, we've saved, I think, a dramatic amount. Check this out.
Not.
Check this out.
Not.
This is our dramatic saving. Ho ho. How much is all this way? 2 kilos we have saved. 2 kilos. What do you reckon about that?
2 kilos. Does that
Epic.
mean you're going to have extra 2 kilos of beer, does it now?
I'm so excited. We've saved 2 kilos. Anyway, all this stuff now, if we chucked a swag on the roof, we'd be off and we'd be cooking with gas. Yeah. I snuck it in. It's okay, it's like 300 grams or something. This is the most important piece of kit that we have. It's the lithium jumpstart battery kit, right?
Yeah, that's all.
It is a King's one, but let me tell you, works every time. Some guy was here the other day with a flat car outside, and he said there's no way this would start his truck. He calls it a Y62. It just cranked it up like a brand new push bike on Christmas Day. We've invited Rail down. Yep. Okay. And he's from Takeaway. So Takeaway, yeah.
Good
Play
name.
on words, I think.
Good name.
Takeaway. So if you're in Sydney, we'll put the details down below. And
on the north side?
You can look him up. No, anywhere.
Oh, I thought
he goes anywhere.
I thought it was predominantly
No, he goes
north
anywhere.
side.
You just ring, book him in. Very affordable too. Check out the website. Again, details down in the description. and you can look him up and see how much it's going to cost to weigh your van and car. Well worthwhile doing. How you doing? Thanks for coming, mate. So what are we expecting to see? We're going to weigh the van first?
Well, today we've got a van that has an ATM of 3,500 kilos, so that's its maximum mass that it's allowed to be. I think having a brief look at it, we're going to see it getting very close to that number.
Yeah.
It's got full tanks of water, as we know. And then hopefully we're going to see 10% of that mass on the tow ball there,
Okay.
which could be too much for the back of the Land Cruiser, but we're going to...
The mighty 200.
The mighty 200, but
They're not very good on the weight, are they?
they can be a bit suspect, yeah. So they've got a rear axle that's allowed to take 1,950 kilos.
Yeah.
And really they need to be upgraded to take 350 kilos of tow ball mass while also having them set up as a four-wheel drive with drawers and fridges in the back. So
Well,
there's only one
way
way to find out, that's right.
Let's go. What's this here? Gizmos.
This is the tow ball scale.
Right.
So this is probably the most important apparatus out of the whole system, I think. What you really want to be doing when you're measuring tow ball mass is measuring it at the height that you're towing at. So you need to measure up how the weight settles on the back of your car.
Yeah.
And then on one of these, you adjust the height upwards to where that tow ball is going to fall. And you want it ideally to be the same height as you're towing when it rests.
And check out this box. Looks like Mission Impossible or something.
Yeah, it's a lovely van. I think you guys will be very happy with that. Straight line. There we go. Keep coming. Bit more, bit more, bit more. Stop there, hold for a moment. Yep, that's it. All right, so we're going to unhitch all this. Chocks in. Bit more. Yep, that'll do. I tell you what, it's lights. 27.29 just going into the axles. If we're going to expect another 350 to go into the tow ball, which it won't be 350, we're looking at about 3.1, 3.2. Beautiful.
So Riley's having a prediction. What's it going to be?
Rolly's pick of the day is 3150, based on what we can see going through those
3150.
axles. Yep.
The appeal of this van has got like this capacity of a ton. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So-
Got an amazing amount of payload versus most of the vans on the market. Most of the vans you see sort of have 500-600 kilos of payload,
Yeah.
and that depends on whether the tear mass was done accurately and on the day you pick it up with
That's true too,
gas
yeah.
tanks, solar, toolboxes, bike racks, all that sort of
Yeah.
thing, all those sorts of things on.
Ball weight, 230.
230.
That's my prediction. Could be anything. Could be 400. I don't know.
One way to find out. Considering that 272, I think we're looking about 320 going into the tow ball.
Right.
Based on everything on it. But we'll see what the scales say now.
Let's have a look.
Let's have a
On that
look.
Scales, mate.
So the total of the van is 3061.
Yeah.
That's our total here.
Right.
We have our tow ball mass at 273.
Ooh.
Well done, Craig.
Ooh.
And the front axle weighs 1,400 kilos and the rear axle weighs 1,387. So there's a really nice amount of balance between those axles.
Okay. So there could be a bit more on the...
You could probably have a little bit. No, it's nice for the front to be a little heavier than the rear.
Yeah.
What the RMS describes a well-balanced van as having the majority of the weight in the front of it. So we measure that by saying what's on the front axle and then what's on the tow ball as well. Between those two numbers, we're definitely going to get the majority of the mass over that front section of the van. So that's, I dare say, that's a well-balanced van. We've got on the left side, we've got 700. We've got about almost 1,400 kilos on the left side of the van and almost 1,400 kilos on the right, so it's really well balanced.
Right.
Left, right, front, back. How about
Sounds
that? Good. And a great weight. Considering it can
Excellent.
take an extra 500 kilos, 3063 gives you plenty of payload. If you
Hey,
want to, you can put a
plenty
motorbike in there.
Plenty of room for your shoes, mate.
Oh, good. I can take another 6 pairs.
What was that again, Rolly?
Might better take
500 kilos, yeah.
Rolly was saying we could put a motorbike on there. I think that's a good idea. We need to hang around a bit more together. motorbikes. We don't need shoes. We need things to do.
Quad bike I could do, motorbike. I think motorbike days may have passed by.
Yeah.
Quad bike I think would be fun.
It all comes with a caveat.
This
all comes with a caveat of how the Land Cruiser weighs as well.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's very encouraging. We've got a nice
Need a
towable
truck.
mass coming into the car now, so we're not dealing with the whole 350 kilos coming into it. We're only talking about 279 kilos coming into the car from the van. So that could make all the difference, particularly at the rear axle, where we see that towable mass magnified by 1.5 times at the rear axle. So every kilo that goes into the tow ball represents about 1.5 kilos that's going down onto the rear axle of the car.
So the van's pretty well balanced.
Van seems very nicely balanced, surprisingly so.
Surprising.
It's not often that I see such a small gap left to right. So usually, I mean, if you think about all the different layouts that a caravan can have when you go to buy it, there's no way that a manufacturer can ensure that every single one of those layouts is balanced left to right, and it's not something that they tend to consider from my experience. So it's a nice thing to have a well-balanced van, just so that you know how it's going to react behind you on the road. Now we're going to get this guy off the scales, we'll re-hitch, and then we'll pop the car on the scales.
Hey, that was precision hitching. Did you see that?
You were precision.
Hear the instructions that are being given? That's what the driver needs to hear.
A nice sharp
1 centimetre back. I like this.
Yeah.
You know, when they're doing this.
I quite like doing that in the camera sometimes, but I'm often not sure if you know the representation when I'm doing it, so.
That's all right.
Right, I'll move the shocks out of the way and you'll be good to go backwards, and then we'll reposition.
These are heavy duty.
Mind your back on that, 20 kilos each.
Yeah, you pay extra if you want to help. Customer help, yep, bit extra.
Get a commission on there.
If you want to touch the tools, 3 times the price. You see these scales? The ants pants, mate. Okay, so what are we doing now, Riley?
So now it's time for us to weigh the 4-wheel drive. We're going to do that in 2 separate stages. The first will be to weigh the Land Cruiser with the van onto it. What we're aiming to do with that measure is to see what the downforce is on the rear axle of the Land Cruiser.
Oh, okay.
Then we're going to unhook the van from the cruiser, and then we're going to see what the car is like by itself.
So what's your prediction?
Tow
ball, what was that tow ball? 270?
The tow ball was 272.
272.
I think we're going to be 50 kilos over.
Ooh, 50 over?
Yep.
Geez, that's a good thing. I can empty half the fuel tank.
That's right, yeah. 50 kilos wouldn't be so bad, but I think...
that's just me.
Let's hope I'm wrong. We're talking about lifting 7 tonnes upwards. Once you feel the speed hump plateau out, get ready to jam on the brakes. Yep, that's it. Keep coming.
Oh.
Brake. Keep coming. Keep coming. Stop. Okay.
What's the go?
So the car,
3.8 tonne.
with the van hitched on, all of your tow ball weight on there as well. The car weighs 3534.
Ooh.
Which is 230 kilos over its capacity.
Great.
230 kilos
Ooh.
over its capacity.
Great.
The rear axle is sitting at 2186.
Ooh.
Which its standard axle is 1950, so we're looking at about 230 kilos over that capacity there. So really good.
That's epic.
It is.
That's an epic overload of the
It is.
axle.
It's an overloaded axle. You can't spot it so easily because of the airbags in the car.
Right.
But yeah, it's a great candidate to either cull some weight or look into a GVM upgrade.
Right.
And considering the numbers here, you'd look at a GVM upgrade of maybe 3650 or something to give you a bit of a buffer.
So that's a fully loaded car. Full petrol tanks, 130 litres, 200 kilos of people in it.
Yep.
And then everything else we need, and we don't think we can get rid of anything.
Okay.
So we've got to have a look at that GVM upgrade, I reckon. Okay.
I'll now unhitch the van from the car so that we can get a measure on it without the van on, so we can see what the axle weight was before that.
Oh, goodness me. I shouldn't have had that big lunch, man. What do you reckon? Look, Rolly's in there. He's going to know now. He'll tell us the new weight.
So the new weight without the van on is 3230, rear axle's at 1754. So you can really see what that 270 kilo tow ball mass did to the rear axle. Right. It took it all the way up to 2186, which was sort of 400-ish kilos of mass that it was putting onto the rear axle, even though it was putting 270 kilos into the car.
Right.
Your airbags are stopping the full distribution of that, funnily enough, so they're helping to keep the car flat and straight and minimising what the tow ball's putting into the rear axle.
Right.
So they're helping you out a fair bit there, I think.
Oh. So what's the car now?
The car now is, I'll take my foot off the edge, 3230.
3230. So the GVM of the car
is 3,300, so you've got 70 kilos spare in the car.
70 kilos worth of shoes. That's pretty good, really. I thought the car would be very close to going over with 2 passengers and full tanks of fuel and...
Yeah, well,
like if you had to put your, like if you, just say you were taking a swag or something and then a suitcase full of clothes.
Or 2 kids, which you'll see a lot of people with 3 kids running along the back seat. Yeah. Or even the third row seats, you'd be getting very close to putting it over.
So what do all those people do?
I hope, the optimist in me says that they're all got GVM upgrades. So that their rear axle in the car can handle the mass.
I like that positive thinking.
But yeah, the data from cruisers that I've weighed suggests otherwise, I think, mostly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you reckon about that? We're going to see the report in a minute. Yeah. Don't know what that means.
Well, it means that you're up for a GVM upgrade.
The van, very nice, beautifully balanced, plenty of capacity, isn't it? It's chockers now with everything. We've still got 500 kilos. How good's that? We just need a different car. I think we might have to just trade it in, get something else. What do you reckon? GVM upgrade?
It sounds like you might be putting a boat on the roof if you ask me.
No boats on the roof of this baby. So we've got to find a few hundred kilos. No cartons of beer for you, mate.
Well, some of that stuff will come out going there.
Or wine.
I do know that.
We need to find hundreds of hundreds.
Backtracks off.
Hundreds.
Backtracks on the van.
Good job, this. I'll have to get a part-time job with it.
Yeah, lovely. So 2482 to start with. Van's got a wonderful set of axles in it. You don't hear somebody saying that every day. It's because its axle load is rated to 4,500 kilos. So the van, by rights, if you had something that could tow 4 tonne, which would be a massive GVM GCM brake towing capacity upgrade on the cruiser, or something of the American variety,
Like a Ram or
like
Chevy.
a Ram, or maybe an Iveco MPS. They're quite good for towing.
Oh, you're talking Craig's language.
They're great trucks. So the van's ATM can be upgraded just on paper, depending on what brakes are in it and what's towing, what sort of chains, what sort of coupling you've got.
Right.
But it's a very cost-effective upgrade on those. But the tricky part's finding a vehicle that can tow that with them.
Okay.
But in the Ram 1500s, don't they have the same rear axle issues that the 200 do?
Their rear axle issues are worse. Their rear axle's rated to less than 1,700 kilos in the
So you really need to
standard
go
spec.
into like a 2500 Ram.
Yeah, that's
where
right.
you need to be
Yeah,
stopping.
so you need a very truck-like car to be able
Yeah.
to tow more than 3,500 kilos.
And
That's
what
for
about
sure.
the Chevy?
When you're considering buying a van, weights and how that weight is going to be managed by your car is obviously an important thing.
Yeah, paramount importance.
So we've just found out that our little dinky car, Tonka truck, right, Tonka toy, is not really up to the task at this stage.
No, not without stripping a lot of your
So
accessories.
no interior, no seats, driver's seat only. I don't think we'll be close then.
No, I think if you were to remove your cargo rack, awning, bull bar, rear drawers, fridge, you'd get close.
You might be close.
You might be close.
Okay.
But yeah, you'd be
If not,
be pushing it.
it's the GVM upgrade.
Yep.
There's GVM upgrades and GVM upgrades. So what do you think we should be doing now when we're considering this? You've got to do some research, obviously.
Oh yeah, definitely do your research. What you're really looking for when you're aiming to tow a caravan behind you is to get the absolute maximum you possibly can out of your rear axle. So when they do a GVM upgrade, what they're really doing is telling you what the capacity is of your front and rear axles when added together. So in a car like the Land Cruiser, you've got a 1,950 kilo rear axle and around a 1,500 kilo front axle. When they do a GVM upgrade, often they will give you maybe 100 kilos on the rear axle and then another 100 kilos on the front axle as an increased rating, and then tell you that you've got an extra 200 kilos in the vehicle. But really, all of the mass that's going into a vehicle when you're towing is going into the rear axle. You've got your cargo going into the back of your car, all of your fuel going into the back of the car, then the towable mass from the van going into the back of the car.
Right.
And that's where it gets overloaded.
Do you think these tyres are contributing to the additional weight of the car? These are 33-inch tyres.
Yeah, and they're on larger rims as well. But when we're looking at, we're really down to counting kilos. So when you're in the game of culling mass from the car, every kilo counts. If you think about culling mass from a Caravan, everything you own in there is a maximum 500 kilos. The heaviest thing you've got is a barbecue, which is about 12 kilos. Your gas bottles, even your little gas bottles, are only 10 kilos each. So you're really looking at a multiple of small items to create every kilo coming out of it. And it all counts. It really does.
Right.
And if for no other reason, if insurance and are running with the law isn't enough, you can save money on fuel with the load that you're carrying as well.
Yeah. So the 100 kilos that we got out of the car the other day, 120 kilos, we laid it out in the driveway.
Yeah, we did.
Weighed it all, we saved 2 kilos. So if that 100 kilos was out, we'd still be over
By 100 kilos, yep.
by 100 kilos.
Yep.
So you could easily put that 100 in the van, couldn't you?
Well, that's right, yeah. So if you've got capacity in the van and your van still has 438 kilos spare in it, which is amazing.
So max tracks, they could go on the van
Yep.
Be mounted on the
or in there.
Lovely spot to mount on the top of your toolbox there.
Yeah.
So the idea would be to use each vehicle and balance the two of them out. So the car is being overloaded by the towable mass and its accessories. So you look at a combination of ways to remove that. And one would be pulling as much cargo as you can out of the car.
Yeah.
You might be able to reduce the mass of the towable that's going into the car as well by shifting some cargo rearwards.
Right.
What we found with this particular van is that it's been wonderfully packed. It's got a very nice 9 kilo variance left and right, which is unheard of over 3 tons. It's got a wonderful balance. So I wouldn't be advising to
Muck around with that too much.
with the balance in this van too much. It's naturally quite good.
And the fact that there's 500 kilos left to put in it, approximately, so that's handy, and you just evenly distribute that.
That's right.
So by the time you get the food in there, which is going to go pretty much over the axles in the van anyway, that's where the fridge sits and that's where the kitchen storage area is. And so the bigger weight is going to go over those axles in the van. There's a couple of questions, Rolly, just while you're here. People trying to understand this ATM, GVM, what's the difference there?
It's a really
Just
good
in the
question because they
Caravan.
do get confused, and one of the reasons is that GVM is used so often with motor vehicles because it's the rating that a car can be. A GVM is the maximum mass that your car is allowed to be. On your registration for your trailer or van, it says GVM on your registration papers as the maximum mass the van's allowed to be. But when the GVM is being spoken about on a trailer or a caravan, that's what they're talking about when they say ATM. ATM stands for aggregate trailer mass, and that means the weight that's going through every point touching the ground in the van. It's the overall mass of the van. So the mass of all your wheels and your tow ball together makes up your ATM. Your GTM in a van, rather than GVM, we're saying GTM, gross trailer mass. That's the mass just going down through the wheels of your caravan or trailer. And it needs to be under what your axle group is rated to. So in this case, you've got a gross trailer mass of 4,500 kilos because the trailer is over-engineered for the mass that you're allowed to carry for it. And you've got 2,789 kilos of mass going down through those wheels. So it's one of those areas where you've got 1,700 kilos spare, which is a bit laughable.
That is epic. Now, what about
an American truck?
If you have an American truck.
what about this other myth? If I load that up and it's 3,500 kilos, and then I put it on my car, I can't put the tow ball weight in addition onto the van.
No.
One other question is weight distribution hitches. So I'll put a photo here what the typical one looks like. Now, this drawbar here looks like it's not really set up to do that. So if you wanted to put weight distribution hitch on here, probably have to weld some engineering marvel on there. So these weight distribution bars, that takes the weight off the rear axle and it puts it onto the front axle of the car.
That's right. It seems like some sort of dark art, doesn't it? It's
so Harry Potter stuff.
Harry Potter stuff. That's for sure. So these are leverage bars that are designed to lever. So they clip in under your tow bar, back into the tow drawbar here, and they're designed to push weight up from the rear axle and displace it to the front of the car, and it'll also end up shifting a little bit of weight backwards as well in the vehicle. Very handy in certain situations. And so Often people don't like the idea of weight distribution bars, saying that the first thing to do is to pack your van correctly. And that's true, you should pack your van correctly, but often you can see a van that's really well balanced, like yours right here.
Yeah.
Really well balanced, left to right, front to back, 10% on the tow ball, so right in the middle of that 8 to 12% guideline, but still, the only area it's putting the car over is on the rear axle.
Right.
And you'd have to say that if there was one apparatus designed to fix that particular problem, it's weight distribution bars. They're designed to take load off the rear axle and apply it back to the front axle to improve your braking.
So if we put that on here, all it would do is take some load off the rear axle, put it to the front.
That's right.
So maybe it'll get it closer to that weight limit for the rear axle, but the car would still be over.
That's right, yeah. You'd find that it would help your rear axle, and it does distribute most of the weight to the front axle.
Right.
But often you see about 30 kilos slip backwards to the Caravan as well.
Okay.
In your situation, what you want to do is know that you've already got a nice balance on the tow, on the tow ball mass. In your case, you've got 8.9% on the tow ball. If you reduce the weight going into the rear axle by 100 kilos, you've got to assume that that's lightening your tow ball mass probably by more than it should be.
Okay.
So if you had a nicely weighted tow ball already, and it could do with, it would still be okay if you were to reduce it by that number that's coming out of the rear axle.
Yep.
It can be suitable for you.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's about it, mate.
Lovely.
So, just tell us a bit about yourself and what you do. Like, you're around like the north of Sydney, aren't you?
I have a little business called Takeaway Mobile Weighing. We operate out of the northern areas of Sydney, and we do this kind of thing. We go around Sydney telling people how their four-wheel drives are rigged up, where they're heavy, if they're heavy in the back, the front, or when they're towing, and help people with their compliance issues. Anything that needs a ticket put against it, we can help out.
So, if you want to get your van weighed, which I reckon everyone should get their van weighed, if you get it weighed, like we know now from a professional what's happening with the van, how good the van is, what the weight distribution's like, and we also now know what to do with the Tonka toy, right? It'll just have to go and retire into the garden somewhere.
Oh my God.
Is that all right? So anyway, if you want to get measured, we'll put the details down below in the description. You can give Rolly a ring. He's pretty busy, but he does what he says.